Well, hello, people. It's Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. This is Up North News Radio, live from Lake Wissota. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Greg Bach is back in Waukesha. Melissa Baldoff is here with our climate check report, including how Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is trying to do to Florida what Scott Walker did to Wisconsin. And you can put in your own punchline from there. In our second hour, Scott Walker also gave us Act 10. There is a new court fight that could lead to a new legal challenge of Walker's union-busting Act 10. And while we're talking education, we'll have our homeroom segment, and we'll talk to a Western Wisconsin superintendent and an elementary school principal about the highlights of the school year and what kinds of things are on public educators' wish lists for the summer and for the next school year. Todd Allbaugh will be along as well, so all of this will get started at 6:06, 4.5 minutes from now, across the Civic Media Radio Network. So if you're watching this video later on, not live, just fast forward about 4 minutes or so. We'll get the show started, and we will see you soon.
across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06 on this Wednesday morning, May 29th, 2024. It's another beautiful day to have you here up north, live from Lake Minnesota, from wherever you're listening across the Civic Media Radio Network, through the app, watching us on social media, through the video feeds, or listening on demand by podcast. Nice to have you along. And I have a question for you. Whose birthday is this? I'm looking at you, Wisconsin. Happy birthday. Wisconsin became the 30th state 176 years ago today, May 29th, 1848. And you can find out all kinds of little factoids about Wisconsin's birthday, Wisconsin history, and milestones in this morning's newsletter that Christina Laurie has put together. You can sign up for it over at our website, UpNorthNewsWI.com. Click newsletter in the top banner. Get on board that newsletter subscription page, and you can learn all kinds of factoids about the birthday kiddo today, the state of Wisconsin. You can reach us here on the show at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Call that number, or you can text us as well at that same number, or you can use the Civic Media app. You can email us, radio@upnorthnewswi.com, and if you're watching us live on social media, Facebook or YouTube, post a question or a comment in the comment section, and we might throw it up on screen as well. Here's another question for you. Which governor do you consider to be smarter, Ron DeSantis or Scott Walker? You see, one scrubbed all references about a changing climate, scrubbed those references from state law before his run for president, a run that was laughably failed from the start. The other just scrubbed climate references from Florida law after he laughably failed to become his party's nominee. So he really gained nothing by it and put his state in a more perilous position. And we will talk to Melissa Baldoff about that in our weekly climate check coming up just a few minutes from now. Scott Walker's name also comes up in our second hour. His union-busting Act 10 is at the forefront of what could be another legal challenge in the making. Arguments were heard in a Dane County court yesterday about that. And from an education standpoint, our weekly homeroom segment introduces us to a Western Wisconsin superintendent and an elementary school principal as we talk about the highlights of the past school year around Wisconsin, what kinds of things are on public educators' wish lists for the next school year, and maybe for the summer break as well. So we've got all of that, plus Todd Allbaugh, Brittany Merler's forecast, and more, all on the way on, again, what is just a sunny, gorgeous morning up here on Lake Wissota, where it's a little chill up here, 43 right now. Hayward's at 36, Park Falls 37. We're back in the 30s for some areas here on this week after Memorial Day. Wausau's at 45, Green Bay 54, La Crosse 49, Wisconsin Rapids 47, Oshkosh is at 54 degrees, Madison's 50, and it's 52 degrees in Waukesha at the studios of the Shaw WAUK, where we're going to go over there very quietly right now, because napping over there is one Greg Bach, who's back from his weekend off, where he was in Washington, D.C., walking, as one does when one is a tourist in the nation's capital, and the man needs a vacation from his vacation. Mr. Bach, good morning.
Oh,
how are your dogs?
My dogs are tired.
Yeah.
And our dog missed us, which felt good because let me tell you, we got pictures the entire time we were gone, and she was having such a good time, and I was like, oh, that's great. And then I was like, okay. And then by then I'm like, if they try to take our dog.
But no, Maybelle was happy when you came back.
No, she was over the moon. She was great. It was wonderful. We had a good time. Hung out with my sister-in-law and her partner, and found out this. Of course, this will not shock you, Pat Kreitlow, at all.
Okay.
We're just sitting there talking one day, and I was saying, oh yeah, someone that we have on the show regularly, she's running for Congress, and he goes, I know. I go, how do you know? He goes, oh, Dr. Lyerly and I went to medical school together. I was like, of course you did.
Of course it was a medical school classmate of Dr. Lyerly's.
Yep.
Of course.
Yep.
I'm changing her name to Kevin Bacon. That's all I can figure at this point.
Right.
You know.
He goes, of course I know her. I gave her money. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. All right,
Okay.
so
She'll be happy to hear that.
yeah. Oh, I already told her. I sent her a text. I sent her a picture of both of us together. We went to a Nationals game. The Nationals park is fun,
isn't it? I love that park. Yes.
Yeah. It was really fun. The Nationals got stomped by the Seattle Mariners.
The Nationals are not having their best year.
No, they were coming back, and then they were getting trounced, and then they came back, and they were winning for like an inning, and then they just then the Mariners were like, that was adorable.
It was such a ride to their World Series championship in 2019.
Yeah.
And part of it was COVID, but so many other decisions came together that, I mean, plenty of teams have fallen rapidly after winning a World Series title. Few the way the Washington Nationals did after 2019. I mean, you just would not recognize, that team 5 years down the road. Alicia Saunders writes in from Northeast Wisconsin, the 6 degrees of Dr. Kristen Lyerly. Yeah, I could totally see that happening. But in terms of baseball, the Brewers and Cubs played last night. They'll play again tonight, starting at 6:40. Pre-game at 6:05 on Civic Media Stations in Richland Center, Racine, Kenosha, Oshkosh, and Park Falls. So if you're recovering from vacation, you probably haven't seen any of the return of Craig Counsell to American Family Field.
I've just been listening to, we listened to the game last night, and I kept up with it on my phone when I was in DC, but I did not see anything. I did not. Were there boos or adulations? Both?
No, a whole lot of booing.
Yeah.
And both Kristen yesterday and Sherry here and other well-meaning and much more charitable people than me have said I need to, not be banging the drum on Craig Counsell so much. But clearly there were 40,000 people in the stands who still agree with me. That Craig Counsell's now a villain. But Craig Counsell also has starting pitching for the Cubs that the Brewers have not scored a run on yet after 5 games. 32 shutout innings by Cubs starting pitchers. Thank goodness their relievers stink, or we wouldn't have any chance whatsoever. The Brewers were getting no hit into the 8th inning when a reliever came in and gave up a single to Sal Frelick in the 8th because the starter, Ben Brown, struck out a career-high 10 in 7 innings of no-hit ball. The Brewers managed to tie the game in the bottom of the 9th, 1-1, but then the wheels came off the bus in the 10th. The Cubs scored 5 runs. Final score was 6-2. So it leads to this question, back to Craig Counsell. Why did Counsell leave? Why didn't he leave his starter, Ben Brown, in the game when he had a no-hitter going? And again, you'll hear about
Craig Counsell.
Yes, you'll hear about pitch counts and saving his arm and all that. And again, there's some exceptions to the rule. Craig Counsell could have gone anywhere, and I would not have begrudged him a bit. Wherever he went, he would have been the highest paid manager in baseball, at least for a time. Except, I'd begrudge him going to the Cubs. In this instance, I understand pitch counts. I understand not wanting to wear somebody out. There's an exception. You've got a no-hitter going after 7 innings.
I just don't think he doesn't care about a pitcher's no-hitter versus saving the arm and the strategy, or as Bush would say, strategery, for the entire win versus the ego of I understand a pitcher getting a no-hit, especially in today's baseball, is crazy pants.
I was shown on.
He cares.
I was shown on social media a box score from a game from that day in history where both starting pitchers went 16 innings, and each threw a little over 200 pitches.
Yeah,
and it was a gem of a game, and they all had long careers. It's such a different era right now, but. Mm-hmm. That's our Craig Counsell for you.
No, Pat. That's their Craig Counsell.
That's their Craig Counsell for you. Yep. So back to how did the Brewers tie this in the bottom of the 9th? Now I'm going to get on my other soapbox about baseball. He's talking sports again. Oh,
how boring.
Willie Adames tied the game with a single that scored Christian Yelich. Adames tried to stretch it into a double, and he had the best head-first slide of the season. It looked like he was about to get tagged on his right arm, and he pulls it back mid-slide like a fake handshake. I expected him to go, psych! And he tags the base with his left arm, and he touched the base. Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it on TV. Everybody saw it on the Jumbotron scoreboard. Everybody saw it except the ump and the replay officials in New York, who said Willie Adames had somehow still been tagged out.
Of course.
And then this one, because we really have three things to debate here. We got leaving a pitcher in the game. We got the Adames tag. And now in the 10th, Brewers reliever Trevor McGill, he took a line drive right off the elbow of his throwing arm. I mean, it looked like it stung. Of course it did. It's not broken, but he immediately, after he was hit, he was hit and he, reacts. He doesn't go down. Instead, he just kind of like hops and starts walking toward the dugout as the ball is sitting in the grass just behind him, which allowed a run to score. Now, again, I wouldn't want to take 100-mile-an-hour, baseball off the elbow, but I'll leave it to you to decide if maybe he could have kept his mind on the play and grabbed the ball with his other hand and gave a little toss to first base, ending of the 10th inning threat. Again, I'm not there. I'm just saying that when I first saw it, I was like, pick up the ball, pick up the ball. But
it's right there.
But it stings. It hit my funny bone. So,
but
yeah. In other news, now an opposing opinion. Ow!
Ouchies!
Ouch! It did not feel very good, and I get it. I understand. So, anyway, that's what makes baseball fun. It's what keeps some of us up a little bit too late, and why we might be a little bit punchy this morning at 6:18. And some of us also just back from vacation. But in a moment, we will unpack the news. We'll talk about the closing arguments in the Trump hush money trial and much more coming up on this Wednesday morning. Wherever you're listening to us across Wisconsin, when you're here, you're up north, live from Lake Wissota on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow.
Moon River, wider than a mile.
It was on this day in 1962 that Henry Mancini won the Grammy for Record of the Year for Moon River, sung here by Andy Williams, but originally from the soundtrack of Breakfast at Tiffany's. I have never seen Breakfast at Tiffany's, I have to admit. I don't know if you have, Greg. Again, we're going back to early 60s movies. Nope. Shaking his head.
Never seen it.
And yet, here's a movie a lot of people did see when you hear Moon River. Chevy Chase in Fletch.
Oh, yeah.
Bent over the exam table. The doctor's putting on this glove, and he's talking about something. And Chevy Chase is just like, well, that Moon River. So I don't associate don't associate. I was going to play the clip, and I'm like, nope, can't play this clip at all. Just it would ruin the majesty of Henry Mancini's Grammy-winning song from this day in 1962. I already mentioned you can sign up for the daily newsletter from Up North News. Head over to upnorthnewswi.com and do that. You can also find what we do on social media. Just search Up North News WI if you're not already following us on social media. And if you're not, I mean, come on, get with the program here. We'd love to have you along. I hold in my hand, Mr. Bach, a new phone. I originally was going to put the title of this hour's episode at New Phone Who Dis, because yesterday, in a case of the planned obsolescence that is Apple, in the past couple of days, my iPhone, what was it, an 11? Suddenly the battery, like by noon, would be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm sorry. Yep. I got nothing left in me. Yep. Do I believe the battery's really that dead? No, I don't. But I also know I can't do anything about it, you know? So it was time. I was going to get an upgrade anyway, give myself a little early birthday present. And so quite spontaneously, while I was in Eau Claire running errands, I took a quick turn into the Verizon store, and I tell you what, they're getting faster. It used to be when you were getting a phone and, you know, transferring the data and everything, it was like, you know, you should bring a picnic basket because it's going to take 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
I was like, this one was probably 30. The guy was amazing. It was like he was like a pit crew in NASCAR, you know. It was still a good 30 minutes. And again, the things that are there, it's like the bundles. Now you got to decide, do you want the Disney bundle along with this? There's a Netflix bundle. It's like, I just want a phone, you know, but you look at this because it's like, wait, I've got to bundle through, you know, this provider. I've got to, you know, they're going to be moving into household cable now, competing with Spectrum. Verizon is, you know, and so you have to sit here and become a math whiz on the fly. Yeah. And then the big one's like, okay, so I've got this, what did I end up getting? A 15? Yeah. And they're like, okay, now, you know, you're going to need all new cords because they don't use the what's called the lightning cord anymore. Correct. You got to get the USB-C cord, which also means you need a new one of those bricks, you know, that you plug into the wall. No, you don't. Plug the cord into it. No, you don't. You don't? No. Okay. No. I don't. And buy the cord for $10. Don't buy their cord. It's like $1,000. Well, now I got to go in the bag and find out. There's a receipt in here someplace. Okay.
Welcome to Pat Went Shopping yesterday.
Pat Went Shopping. There we go. I was originally going to go on a rant here about Apple's packaging. I know I did that once already, so I'm not going to. But that was a lot of money to pay for a brick. Anyway, I have all this new stuff to work through, of course, in the middle of the workday. So I just had the dream the night before. You were gone yesterday. I didn't get to tell you that there's like several stories on my to-do list that have to be written up for Up North News that not last night, but the night before. I had the quintessential dream of you're in school and realized you didn't do your homework. Yeah. Or, you know, there's a test that's coming that you didn't study for. It was just that helpless feeling. And I woke up yesterday morning just determined that I was going to bang out all these things on my to-do list. But then I had to stop and get a phone because the battery was dying on the one. So I'm going to be having that dream again today or tonight.
Welcome to the USB-C world. We've been here for a while. It's pretty nice. Now it works with all sorts of things. It's great. And Apple likes to think like we're going USB-C while the rest of the phone world's like, okay, cool. I know. Welcome to 2015.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now I'm adding to my collection of USB-C cables. Yay me. Yeah. Oh, well, the Donald Trump hush money trial is starting to wrap up here. Closing arguments were delivered yesterday to the jury. Today, they will get instructions from the judge about the law, about the charges, and about the factors that they have to consider as they work to reach a verdict in what is, again, the first criminal case ever against a former American president. Couple of the usual disclaimers here. There are currently 4 different trials that Trump is facing for criminal conduct. This is the weakest of them, and yet it's the first one to come up. That works in Trump's favor because, again, it's tawdry. It's about, sex and hush money and falsifying business records, not national security secrets, not trying to overturn an American election. And so, however this one goes, Trump will be able to spin, being a victim in this. But that's just the way the cases came down for various reasons that we won't go into here. But another point that I've made before, and I want to underscore yet again, is it's not so much. Well, I mean, the trial is important. Don't get me wrong. The trial is important. The verdict, one way or the other, is important. But I'll come back to what I said when Trump was originally charged. That was a milestone day because you had a Department of Justice or a district attorney's office or a special counsel looking at the evidence, and what they didn't do was say, well, he's a former president, we can't charge him. We've never had a former president on trial before. It's like, no. Did he allegedly do these things? Does the evidence indicate that he did these criminal acts to the point where you would charge any other Joe Schmo with doing something that is, perhaps criminal? Yeah. He did. The evidence says what it says. And now a jury will decide. But the fact that it got to this point, that it got to the charging point before the trial, is still a big deal. It says that there are some things in this country that still work. Now, are there people that are going to continue to claim that, the charges were brought for political reasons because, people hate Trump, the judge hates Trump, just look at him, as Trump said, last week in another wildly racist rant? Of course people are going to say that. My only response, again, is look at the evidence. Look at the evidence with clear eyes. Look at the evidence as if it had happened to you. Or if you want to be political about it, look at it as if it happened to, say, Hillary Clinton. And the odds are you'd be saying, lock her up, lock her up. So just take a good look at it. We're not going to review it all here. This is about the significance of the moment. The jury's going to deliberate. I have always been a little bit skeptical about a guilty verdict, not because of the evidence, but because all it takes is one person on a jury to hold out and, lead to a hung jury or an acquittal. So we'll see how that part plays out. But I just wanted to make clear again that getting to this point says there are things in America that still work. The same goes with elections. However this turns out, the real result will come from a jury of the American voters. Melissa Baldoff and our climate check are next here up north.
You heartbreaker, wherever you're going.
And now we're back on this Wednesday morning, Up North News Radio, with our weekly climate check with Melissa Baldoff. And so, the very first headline that we're going to be talking about is the governor scrubbing references to climate from state websites, state language, all kinds of state policy. Before you go any further, no, this is not a rerun. This is not sometime in, a decade ago. We're not talking about Scott Walker. We're talking about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who apparently learned nothing from, the Scott Walker failings of his time in office. Melissa Baldoff, good morning. How are you? Welcome to our time warp.
This is definitely something where, you could have stopped the sentence with Ron DeSantis has learned nothing, and it would have been a very complete sentence there. I got to say, I feel very, uniquely qualified to chat about this with you. Being a native Floridian and having so much of my family still down there, I unfortunately have to pay way more attention than I would like to what is happening in the, formerly great state of Florida. And Ron DeSantis is just, running back every play in these, battle playbooks to scrub, like you said, scrub any mention of climate change, from, state government. He's very famously, has this, don't say gay legislation. Now he wants, to not say climate change.
And then before that, it was COVID. He fought all kinds of restrictions. Floridians were dropping like flies during the pandemic. So this latest bit, I can't forget that last week he declared that this is going to be Freedom Summer in Florida. And by freedom, what he meant is taking away the freedom of local communities to decide what colors to light up their bridges for various celebrations and things. For him, freedom means the state will dictate that you can only use the colors red, white, and blue. So this is that Ron DeSantis, the failed candidate for president. And the main reason I wanted to bring it up in this week's climate check is that last week, a Florida TV meteorologist, Steve McLaughlin was his name, criticized this new legislation right on air and pointed out, the record heat that's going on, not just in Florida, but from a global standpoint. And it shouldn't be this thing of immense bravery to say science is what it is. But in this political era, in some places, this one TV weather guy is making a brave, bold stand, which is only indicative of the times we live in these days.
Right. And I think you're right too, that this is some bravery, because we have seen people like Ron DeSantis really go after their, perceived enemies, anyone who's disagreeing with them publicly. So it is definitely, I think, an act of bravery to talk about this, and, not only to talk about the very serious scientific component of this, and to talk about, yes, like you said, the record heat, the record flooding, the rain, it's
the coral bleaching. The coral bleaching down there is a tragedy.
Yes.
And it hurts tourism as well, if you want to look from an economic standpoint. Sea levels rising in these coastal communities. They all know what's happening. It's not, the evidence is in front of your eyes.
The insurance rates are out of control because of the, in part because of corporate greed, and in part because of some of these weather events. You've got people who have been in their homes, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, who are being priced out of their homes because they're getting dropped by their insurance companies. They can't afford the rate increases. They're being told, you've got to put on a brand new roof, even though yours is less than 10 years old. So this is really serious stuff. And, not only was Mr. McLaughlin, pointing some of these issues out, but, the remedy that he talked about, telling people that the most powerful climate change solution that we have is in the palm of your hands, and that's the right to vote. And he said, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but do your research and know that there are candidates that believe in climate change and there are candidates that don't, and know who does and who doesn't. And I think that is something that, you really hope to see more people talking about, and really making sure that that is part of the conversation, that we've got to be aware of who believes in climate change, who is going to advocate for the solutions that are going to keep us safe, that are going to, help prevent some of these worst disasters, help, protect our communities, keep our costs down, and who doesn't want to be part of the solution. And instead, Governor DeSantis says he wants to, quote, restore sanity in our approach to energy and reject the agenda of the radical green zealots. Because
that's right up there with freedom, Freedom Summer. And as an article from CNN points out, let's keep in mind what we're talking about in terms of, the deleting climate references in Florida. We're talking about things like state policies that talk about reducing fossil fuel emissions through energy policy, or directing state agencies to buy climate-friendly products when those products are cost-effective and available. In other words, hardly anything onerous here. It's not like what we're seeing from too many people on the far right is, I will save your car. I am the defender of your gas-powered lawnmower, or some other ridiculous notion like that. There's how do I put it? Government's not coming for your lawnmower, Melissa. It never was.
Making these political statements by saying you reject climate change and you want to scrub it from state government isn't going to do anything. It's only going to make it worse. And, that's something that we saw happen in Wisconsin, like you said, when Scott Walker did just that. We had been making progress under Governor Doyle, when he was in office. And when Scott Walker came into office, he very, very famously, banned state workers from even talking about climate change. He took away all reference in state agencies from talking about climate change, removed references in official communications. You couldn't even talk about it. That's from not just the DNR, that is, across the board. So, he disbanded the task force that, Governor Doyle had set up, and just completely shut down anything that was happening. So Wisconsin lost, 8 years of work that could have been done towards addressing climate solutions in our state. So, one of Governor Evers', first acts in office was absolutely to, get rid of that ban on even talking about climate change and start to implement some solutions. But it takes a lot of time to undo, that culture of hostility towards talking about climate change and working towards it. And there are people who had been in state government for a long time who really wanted to do that kind of work. And they were so afraid of even talking about it because they weren't allowed to. That's a really big shift in the culture of an agency. So it really had such an impact on the state of Wisconsin to have 8 whole years where we couldn't talk about it.
No, and
let's do anything.
And what it does as well, this anti-science, populist rhetoric just, helps agitate certain folks to the point where, again, part of the reason people see this Florida meteorologist as brave is that, last year, after 18 years delivering the news on an Iowa TV station, a meteorologist there had to abruptly resign because of all the threats he was getting, because all he did was explain how the weather is linked to the climate crisis, and the pushback was relentless. Now, the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, it's 4 years ago now that they did this, but I stumbled upon this, and I highly recommend the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign listing 40 different ways Wisconsin was hurt by Scott Walker's, essential war on the climate. And of course, we're not going to go through all 40, but they put it in these general areas that he stifled discussion of the climate, protected special interests over the public interest, stymied recycling, hijacked local government control. Of course, he was a master at that. Failed to fund education or conservation initiatives, and weakened public health and environmental regulation. So the record is real clear here that by trying to use the climate for political purposes, you hurt the economy, you hurt the health of your own people, and unnecessarily so. There's plenty of other political battles you can fight without actually endangering human health.
Absolutely. This was something that very few people would have been asking for this. I think this is something that is so pandering to a really small, swath of, supporters they're trying to court. We know that the vast majority of voters do believe in climate change, even Republicans. They want to see something happen. It's such a fringe position to not believe in climate change these days. So to, really be out there and not wanting to do anything on climate, and to not have any interest in having the discussion, and to, threaten so many different areas, it's just such an extreme position. So it just makes you wonder, what's the end goal? And you can't think of a reason other than just purely political.
Yeah, pure power politics is all that it is. A couple of weeks back, we had former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes on. His new group, Forward Together Wisconsin, helps to connect people in Wisconsin and small businesses and school districts to the funding that's available through the Inflation Reduction Act and other sources to make a difference. One of their national partners is called Rewiring America. And they've got, folks like Stacey Abrams, Jonathan Scott from the Property Brothers, all kinds of other experts who are basically going to get into the PR battle, if you will, to help remind people that there are ways to have a cleaner, healthier environment, and, potentially get some financial help along the way, because it's a good thing to do, but it can also be a good thing to do financially.
Yeah, I think this is a really cool initiative that Rewiring America has launched. It's called Electric Creatives, and they've teamed up with some folks like you mentioned to launch this partnership with the entertainment industry to educate folks and really help to kind of like leverage the cultural influence that the entertainment industry has to help introduce some of these products to a broader audience, right? So when and they've set a goal to help have the vast majority of production studios use electric appliances by 2035. So when you're seeing like a home renovation show, they want to be using electric appliances. They want to be using more electric vehicles in TV shows and movies. So they're making those, electrifying. They want to make it much more accessible to the general public, and know that the, power and influence of, what we watch, what we read, what we listen to has such a big impact. So I think that's a really cool, innovative approach. And, I hope more industries kind of find ways to introduce products and make this more accessible, make it more interesting, make it more real and approachable for people.
I think you'll see a lot more of this. And so it's just kind of a first introduction to this initiative. So look for more from Rewiring America and Forward Together Wisconsin in the weeks and months to come. Melissa Baldoff had this week's climate check for us. Melissa, thanks again as always. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Today's history lesson coming up next. You're up north. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Melissa Kay.
Hello.
Hello.
Award-winning Melissa Kay.
I'm sorry, award-winning Melissa Kay.
Okay, you can stop that now.
Okay. Nope. You
Multi-award winner Melissa Kay.
Brats. You are both brats.
guilty.
Yep. Ugh. Melissa, what kind of phone do you have?
This kind.
Cool. All right. Good talk. Thank you.
I think it's a Samsung.
It's tech talk.
I
With
was just
Melissa
thinking about
Kay.
all the Pat's talking about getting a new phone. They now have the USB-C cord.
I
I'm
have
like,
I have a story from this last segment. Here we go.
welcome. All right, here we go.
Oh, love this Melissa Etheridge song. Melissa Etheridge is 63 years old today. Welcome to today's history lesson and musical memories. And joining us now from locally grown Radio Wisconsin Rapids, Melissa Kay. Melissa, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg. I screwed up the introduction again. How do we introduce her?
Award-winning
Yes.
Melissa Kay.
Yes. Got it. How you doing?
Get to Melissa Etheridge. I'm
good?
great. How are you, Pat?
Good.
Greg?
Had a lovely weekend. How was your holiday weekend? Good too.
It was busy. I got to attend the Quilts of Valor ceremony at
good.
in Wisconsin Rapids, which was awesome. It was a historic event. It
Nice.
was the first
Wonderful.
all-female event that happened.
Oh, cool.
Great.
Trying to make up some,
Yeah.
lack of acknowledging women in the military.
Yes. I'm glad to see that. I appreciate that very much for all those who served and for those who sacrificed.
Yeah.
On the birthday list today, Bob Hope was born this day in 1903. He passed away in 2003 at the age of 100. Composer Danny Elfman is 71. LaToya Jackson is 68. Red carpet celebrity Laverne Cox is 52. That's how I know her from all the red carpet presentations for all the award shows. On this day in 1984, Tina Turner released an album that she had hoped would be her big comeback album. The album was Private Dancer. And yeah, it turned out to be a big comeback album with tracks like this one.
Prisoner of your love.
So 80s.
Oh, I know, in such a good way. Oh,
Michael McDonald in his memoir talks about helping on this record.
really?
Yeah, I think he sings back about a couple of songs.
Why am I not surprised?
Oh yeah.
That is so great.
More synth.
The Roman Empire ended on this day in 1453 with the fall of Constantinople. Ottoman armies captured it, ending the Roman Empire after 2,000 years. So, just that quick little reminder that you think that think things are forever. No.
Oh.
Not even after 2,000 years, there goes your Roman Empire. Let's see. The number one song this day in 1976 was the first ever disco hit from Motown Records, and it came from Diana Ross.
I got the sweetest hangover. I don't wanna get over.
And it's funny, like a lot of disco songs, it has kind of like a slow part, like here or in the middle, and you're on the dance floor. And there's this really good disco part coming up, but you just have to kind of like stand there and sway awkwardly for a little bit.
Do the ski move.
Yep, we're kind of killing time until this. And now the ball is spinning, the little disco ball, and the lights are coming on and off. Like, okay, that's what I waited for. But I had to look really stupid for 2.5 minutes to get to that point.
Aw, poor Pat.
I know. Rhode Island became the final of the original 13 colonies to ratify the Constitution this day in 1790. Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing Norgay became the first people to reach the summit of Mount Everest on this day in 1953. And I'm really glad that it's written that way now, because all the years we were growing up, it's like, oh, Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest. Edmund Hillary did this.
Yeah.
He discovered that. It's like, the Sherpa guy, remember?
Yeah.
The one who actually did so much of the work, So, yes.
Have you guys seen recent videos of ascending Mount Everest
Yes.
where people are just packed
Yes.
to the jowl waiting to get up there?
Yeah, it's not.
And
I
if
mean,
they didn't bring enough oxygen, man, you're kind of SOL there.
Yeah.
it's really expensive.
You're stepping over so many dead bodies along the way. And
Mhm.
not to mention all the
Garbage.
waste and the garbage.
Yep.
And
Kind of awful.
it is. It really, it's just such a
Didn't
change.
realize Everest would become a tourist trap.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to Everest this summer.
Uh,
I hope
We-
you got the good Sherpa.
the good Sherpa. Yeah, it's true. At what point do you just get George the Sherpa? It's like, oh, we'll see.
We're looking up reviews on Bob. I don't know.
Yep. We mentioned that Henry Mancini's Moon River won Grammy for the record of the year 1962. Later, we're going to play Ricky Nelson's Travelin' Man, which hit number one this day in 1961. But we'll wrap things up here by telling you the number one song this day in 1965 was by the Beach Boys.
Ronnie, you look so fine. Look so fine. It wouldn't take much time for you to help me, Rhonda. Help me get her out of my
And all the boys are like, bo, 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 bo.
This song just essentially about a guy saying, "Hey, why don't you go with me so I can forget about her?"
Yeah, pretty much. Welcome to the 60s. That's pretty much
Ew.
what so much music was like at the time. But so if you're Rhonda, that's, you got a song, and, Sherry has a few songs about her. Is there like a quintessential Melissa song that's out there?
And not that I know of.
The
I've never.
The Allman
The Allman
Brothers.
Brothers.
The Allman Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Melissa.
I don't know. My dad always used to just sing things and stick my name in there.
That's
Although
perfect. What a good dad.
It wasn't always my name. Sometimes it was Millicent or Maleficent or Melody or
Melissa River.
Exactly. You nailed it, Greg.
Thank you.
This is Mount Everest Day. This is End of the Middle Ages Day. This is Learn About Composting Day. Melissa, you a composter? Oh,
Yes.
look at that.
And I want to be. That's how I want to be buried. I would like to.
Oh, I
have
saw an
my
article
body
about that.
composted. I've been following it for years. It's really interesting. It's happening in other countries.
It's
but
interesting.
Not quite here yet.
It's interesting, but the article had a headline like something like the last terrible thing we do to each other is turn each other into compost.
Well,
So
that's kind of a clickbait headline. There's actual science behind it, and it's good for the environment, and it would be the better way. I was going to be buried in a mushroom suit, but that has proven to
She
not.
loved Super Mario Brothers.
No, like a suit with spores that
Oh,
turn your
gotcha.
body into,
Oh, okay,
the
okay.
fungus eats your body.
I
Yeah.
thought maybe she
They
was
don't work
turning
as
into
well
our own
as-
little Princess Peach over here.
I'm
No.
gonna be buried as Luigi. No.
This is National Biscuit Day, alligator. It's a day for alligators, otters, snails, National Flip Flop Day, Paperclip Day, Digestive Health Day, and Senior Health and Fitness Day. Right up until the moment you're put in a dumpster and covered up in compost, and we're
That's not how
saying
it works,
you're
Pat.
healthy. You're healthy. It sounds like an underground version of a Viking funeral. Maybe.
No,
That's
just
what,
let them on
I'm getting.
fire.
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting a Viking funeral.
Melissa Kay, we appreciate you so much. Award-winning Melissa Kay.
And
Oh,
soon to be
thanks,
mushroom
guys.
contributor.
Take care, Melissa. See you later.
You too. Have a great day.
More in our second hour at Up North News Radio. Oh,
And
so
we
fun.
didn't even get to my our announcement. It's been announced, so I can tell
Oh,
you. guys.
come on. You got to be kidding me.
I'm sorry. It's
It's
not my
been
fault.
announced. Why didn't you? I thought you were going to tease it again for another week here.
No, they did. I didn't know it was coming out either. They
You didn't
threw
know it was
out.
coming out?
Well, no.
Well,
It got
tell our secret show audience
our
out there.
secret show audience. I
Yes.
get my own show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's called Tease with K.
Are you teasing me? Or are you gonna call
What are
me
you
like,
teasing?
hey,
You like neener,
hey,
neener,
yeah,
neener?
ham
Tuesdays
makes
and
you look-
Thursdays, conversations with K is kind of what
Good.
it is. Like,
Well,
conversations with
congratulations.
T's. Yeah. So,
Okay,
fantastic.
so Tuesdays and Thursdays when?
Yep. From 5 to 6
A.M.?
p.m.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We have
no,
a farm show.
We're expanding Playmakers
Okay.
on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's a sports call-in show. And then
So is this on
Tuesdays and Thursdays-
FHR?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it'll be conversations in the community, and Tuesdays is going to focus on our kids, students.
Oh. So this Wednesday thing works out then because you'll have talked about what was on yesterday and what will be on tomorrow.
Well, most of mine are going to have to be pre-recorded because of, everything else. But
Well, I know, but you'll still get to talk
Yeah.
about it. If this
Yep.
if getting up with us in
What's
the morning still
upcoming?
works for you,
Oh, probably. I
Okay.
still have to do news.
All right. Well, but people appreciate you. Like Tony here says, "Yay, secret audience." And
Yay! Hi,
very
Tony.
awesome for your job. So,
Well,
all right.
thanks, guys.
Thanks, Melissa. Talk to you later.
See you later,
Have a good
Melissa.
day.
Take care.
Bye. Hello.
Good morning.
Who's still got allergies?
Yep. Things.
Spring.
And Greg's
It's sprung. All right, fine. Close it off when I show off. Whatever.
Hang on a second here, just for Greg, everybody. There we go.
Ugh, no one wants that. Ugh, turn it off. Jesus.
crew.
You better beat the Cubs tonight. All right, see you in a little bit.
All across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Right here in the middle of a birthday party on this May 29th. Happy birthday, Wisconsin. 176 years old today. Party favors include Greg Bach in Waukesha and meteorologist Brittany Merlot from Wausau. And nice to have you all along as well. 855-75-CIVIC is the phone number if you'd like to call or text. Ms. Merlot, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, it's gorgeous out here. It's gorgeous on Lake Wissota right now. It's a beautiful day. It's everything we wished we could have had for Memorial Day weekend and didn't get one bit. So go to work, everybody.
Seriously, right?
And
I
enjoy.
got that in DC. It was 85 degrees almost every day, and I hated it.
I was gonna say you also were walking 8 miles a day as a tourist, so
Yeah. Yep.
that's what comes into it. So anyway, looks nice today, Brittany. We got that going for us. It looks nice.
Yes, we sure do. The only thing we have out there this morning is some patchy dense fog in the valleys off into the western parts of the state. Otherwise, high pressure system dominating the day. Like Pat said, it's going to be beautiful today. Shush, Greg. Or is that Pat? I'm like, who's laughing at me?
That was Greg. We're told
That was me. Sorry. Keep
figured.
going. That was great. Never stop doing that, but keep going. Sorry.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. So beautiful sunshine out there today. Calm winds. The only downfall is going to be by Lake Michigan. You're still breezy, and you're going to have that lake breeze keeping you cooler today into the low 60s, while the rest of the state, we still stay a little crisp into the upper 60s to low 70s today, but we will warm things up as we push through the next few days and into the rest of this week. And this high pressure system, there's a couple of them just stacked on top of each other. So we're going to see sunshine tomorrow too. The only thing, northern Wisconsin, Vilas County, Forest, Florence. Be careful out there this evening because there is a chance for frost. Temperatures falling to the upper 30s to mid 30s potentially out there overnight. So a cold one, right? Yuck. It is almost June, and I should not be saying anything like that right now.
No, you should not. With apologies to Rob, I missed his note yesterday. Good morning from Tigerton. Today it's partly cloudy and 48. Happy birthday, Wisconsin. It's a countdown to my birthday next Wednesday, he writes. With some dry time, I will be busy on my John Deere lawnmower, mowing lawns. It's a 25 horsepower lawn tractor. And he goes on to write, Greg, do you need your lawn mowed? Clearly, he remembered last week's adventure when you had to bale everything that was out there.
Rob, I'll tell you this much, friend. You come on down. I'll mow my lawn. By the time you get there, we'll just sit down in my garage and we'll have a beverage of your choice, whether it's a beer, it's a water, a soda, or a nice juice. You come on down, we'll hang out, and you can give me advice. That's what I'd love to get from you, sir. Advice on good lawn care.
There you go. And maybe he'll bring some treats from some of those places where he
bring
stops.
tacos.
Yep, bring the tacos. Bring tacos to Kenosha, Rob. That's what we need. Brittany, a question. Diet Sun Drop, he quickly adds on Facebook.
Oh,
yes.
Nothing specific, Rob. Nothing specific here.
Brittany, I got a question about lightning for you.
Okay.
Do you use lightning cables for your phone? Do you have an Apple, like an iPhone or something like that? Because we were talking in the last hour
Did not
about
think you're going there.
how I had to upgrade my iPhone, but it meant they don't use the lightning cables anymore. So Greg was teasing me that all my lightning adapters and cables would be, useless and everything. But I now hold up my trackpad for my iMac here, which I got the little advisory during the last commercial break. Your trackpad is getting low, connect it to charge up with your lightning cable. So I fear these lightning cables and USB-Cs. I'm going to be awash in cables for a while. The lightning is going nowhere, Brittany. Going nowhere.
Point of order.
Yes, Mr. Bach.
I never made fun of you once for it. I asked you a question.
Mhm.
It's the fact of the matter. I was poking fun of the very, very DIY punk rock garage company, Apple, very independent. The fact that every time they think they do something, they think it's legendary and innovative because they think they've done it first when they haven't anything. With the exception of the iPhone was great. It's great. And I had one for 10 years, but now they're like, we have a great camera. It's still terrible. We have USB-C. We all do.
Welcome, right?
Yeah. It's definitely not Steve Jobs' company anymore.
No.
Rest in peace. It is.
I could
it
talk
is
about that for
far from it. One more question for you, Brittany, because you got no place else to be right now,
I
right?
don't think she
Not at all.
answered your first one.
Have you ever heard of in Milwaukee the Kinnickinnick can opener, the KK can opener? It's a bridge, a railroad bridge.
I have not.
It's called a can opener because you've seen the railroad bridges, very
Yep.
very heavy duty steel, iron. This one sits a little lower than most. And there's a sign right there, low bridge. But if you ever look up Kinnickinnick or KK can opener in Milwaukee, you'll see that over the years, occasionally semi-drivers will disregard the low bridge sign, and the bridge becomes a can opener. Just opens, rips open the top of the semi.
Yep.
And anyway, the Journal Sentinel headline from yesterday: the Kinnickinnick can opener strikes again as a semi strikes the 13-foot bridge. And lots of photos there of a truck driver having a bad day. So
My
if you go on Facebook and look up the Swan Slicer, there's one in Wauwatosa as well.
the Swan Slicer, I like
Yep,
that.
These
Swan
names.
Boulevard. Yeah, there's a very low bridge, and there are signs everywhere, and there are warnings.
Mhm.
But people just are like, "No, I'll be fine." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm glad I took out the insurance on this U-Haul."
Yeah, no
Oh
kidding.
goodness! I didn't think about U-Hauls too. That would be terrible.
Mhm. Oh yeah, got to be careful on these things. All right, safe driving wherever you're going, Brittany. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Have a good day.
All right, 7:13 right now. The Brewers lost in extra innings to the Chicago Cubs. The Brewers, have still not scored on Cubs starting pitching. 5 games into the season, the Cubs have now gone 32 1/3 innings of shutout baseball against the Brewers hitters. Thankfully, the Brewers have been able to tee off on relief pitchers, and that's how they managed to tie the game in the bottom of the 9th. But prior to that, Cubs starting pitcher Ben Brown went 7 no-hit innings. Craig Counsell would not allow him to take it into the 8th and potentially the 9th, and so the Brewers were able to tie it off a reliever in the 9th, but then the Cubs managed to score 5 runs in the top of the 10th inning. Final score was 6-2. They will do it again tonight, 6:40 at American Family Field. So you can listen starting at 6:05. There are some civic media stations around Wisconsin where you can hear the Brewers. They include WRCE in Richland Center, WRJN in Racine, Kenosha, WISS in Oshkosh, and WCQM in Park Falls. So if you're heading to any of those communities, give a listen to your civic media station in those areas, and you'll be able to hear the Brewers tonight. And then again tomorrow afternoon. It's I think a 12:15 start before the Chicago White Sox come to town to continue the series of Chicago teams here playing against the Brewers in Milwaukee. The supporters of former President Donald Trump, including former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, yesterday submitted more than 9,000 signatures in an effort to force a recall election of Wisconsin's most powerful Republican, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. Even though if they were to succeed in forcing a recall election, he'd be recalled for a couple of months, and then he'd be running again in the new district because of the new maps, and conceivably right back in office, having not missed anything since the legislature's not meeting right now. But the supporters of the recall effort toward Vos say that it is something to make a statement because of their disapproval of Robin Vos, the way that he's angered them by refusing calls to decertify President Biden's Wisconsin win in 2020, because that's not a thing, and that Vos further angered Trump supporters when he did not back a plan to impeach Megan Wolf, the state's top elections official, who again did nothing wrong. But that's not good enough for the former Supreme Court Justice and failed investigator Michael Gableman, who in the photo that accompanies the Associated Press photo is standing at a podium outside of the Wisconsin Elections Commission office. And Greg, have you seen the meme? I wasn't sure where I'd seen this photo of Michael Gableman before, but have you seen the meme of Donald Trump standing outside the White House and there's a kid mowing the lawn?
Yeah.
And he's in a suit just kind of like screaming at the kid.
Yeah.
That's the picture of Michael Gableman. It's got that same energy of, I don't know why I'm here, but there's cameras and microphones.
This whole thing is just, we've talked about it a few times on Matt and Air on air, and they went for a second recall before the first was even like decided on by the courts to say, no, you're not good. Makes no sense. They look like dum-dum pops to me.
Dum-dum pops is exactly what Tony's trying to say when he posts on YouTube. I don't like Vos, but this is a great example of the never-ending political campaign and no time for actual governing. Amen, Tony. Amen. At some point, you're supposed to actually govern. Like, okay, I'm here. These people who are not in my party are here. We're here to work together, solve problems, do good things for Wisconsin, either spend your money efficiently or cut taxes, depending on your point of view. Get some work done. And for these guys, it's just the politics never ends.
And if they just look back to the last time he was elected, he was primaried and he didn't win that primary by a lot. So you would think, strategy would say, find yourself a good candidate, run them against Vos in a primary and go from there. But this is just dumb.
That's some expert analysis right there, because I can't top it. It is. It's
I'll be there. Join me on election night 2024, where I will just be giving one syllable judgments on things. Dumb.
Thank you, Greg Bach. But it is. So that's what's happening in the latest in legislative elections. And Greg is absolutely right. You should have gone the primary route, where things just might have been successful, even with the money laundering that some of the folks did thanks to Trump's campaign and some outstate Wisconsin County Republican parties. But that's a story for another time. When we come back, there's a new legal challenge to Act 10. We'll have details on that and unpack some more of the news on this Wednesday morning, live from Chippewa Falls. This is Up North News Radio from Courier Newsroom and distributed by the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Reitlow.
I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stops.
We're going way back for musical history on this date in 1961 from Ricky Nelson with Traveling Man. Remember, you can join the conversation here this morning just by calling 855-75-CIVIC, 855-75-CIVIC. You can call the number, you can text it. You can also use the Civic Media app to call or text us as well. Pam Yonkey's Midwest Farm Report is just ahead. Along with our homeroom segment, we'll be visiting with Jimmy Zawacki from Osseo Fairchild. He's an elementary school principal there, as well as Osseo Fairchild Superintendent Lori Wheeland, coming up in just a few minutes here. But as far as mentioning Pam and the Midwest Farm Report, we've got the weekly numbers from the USDA that indicate that the first cutting of hay around Wisconsin is 18% complete. That's 3 days ahead of average, but 2 days behind last year. And we've got a farm right across the street here, up here in the town of Eagle Point, north of Chippewa Falls. And I married into a farm family. I don't envy one bit of, the work, how hard it is. Obviously, it can be rewarding, but I'm watching them try to cut this hayfield. And I don't know that I've ever seen a mower, a tractor, a cutter moving that fast, trying to get ahead of the rain, and ultimately did not. Got about 3-4 passes of the field done before they had to stop because the rain was coming down just too much. But we heard Hans Breitenmoser talking yesterday about that as well, that all the rain over the holiday weekend just did not lead to a lot of field work. And the USDA report notes that heavy rains reduced Wisconsin to just 2.5 days, suitable for field work. Unlike a year ago, there is nobody where their topsoil moisture is, very short. There's, it's about like 2/3 adequate, and about 1/3 actually has surplus moisture in the soil right now. The corn planting is about 80% complete. Soybeans about 74% complete. Oats 90% complete. Potatoes 94% complete. So a lot of the field work has been done, but what's left to get done still is being impeded by the rain, and with any luck they can get that done in pretty short order. And as always, more details from Pam and the team at the Midwest Farm Report along the way, including the full report on some Civic Media stations at 5 a.m. if you're an early riser and want to tune in for that hour. It's also available as a podcast. Public worker and teachers unions argued Tuesday in Dane County Circuit Court about whether the law that helped break up teachers unions and other public sector employee unions, but not all of those unions, if that law should be challenged, if this new lawsuit should be dismissed or allowed to proceed to trial. It's the first challenge to what's known as Act 10 since Wisconsin's Supreme Court flipped from conservative to progressive control last year with the election of Justice Janet Protasewicz. Dane County Circuit Judge Jacob Frost had the hearing yesterday in the case of a motion to dismiss the lawsuit challenging Act 10, so that this wouldn't even go forward. The lawsuit would be thrown out, and there would be no new challenge to Act 10 now that the Supreme Court has flipped control. Judge Frost did not rule from the bench, but said he would issue a written order on a request to dismiss the case. The request came from the legislature, which is controlled by Republicans, but also came from the Wisconsin Department of Justice as well, which, there are some state employee unions that are part of this. Some state agencies are named as defendants. And so the Department of Justice, overseen by Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul, is also supporting dismissal of the lawsuit. The unions argued that the 2011 law should be struck down because it creates an unconstitutional exemption for firefighters and other public safety workers. Attorneys for the legislature and the state agencies countered that the exemptions are legal and have already been upheld by other courts. But it leads to this question. When Act 10 came about and removed collective bargaining rights for teachers and for many other public sector unions, but not for these firefighters and public safety workers, was it a case of, well, they could legally do that, they, the Scott Walker administration and the Republican legislature, could they do that in the name of public safety? Or did they do it in the name of political expediency? In other words, the exemptions, the unions that were exempted from being busted, just happened to be the ones that also supported Scott Walker when he was running for governor in 2010. And that is, part of what the judge asked yesterday was, isn't this an equal protection problem? He said, in considering the motion to dismiss the lawsuit. The union attorney said there was no rational reason for some public safety workers being exempt while others are not. If the latest lawsuit were to succeed, after all of these other challenges fell short, all public sector workers who lost their collective bargaining power would have it restored. According to this story in the Associated Press from Scott Bauer, they would be treated the same as police, firefighter, and other public safety unions that remain exempt. Now, again, there were challenges previously, including in 2014, when the state Supreme Court rejected the challenge. The difference is, a decade ago, conservatives controlled the court 5-2. Now it's progressives who control the court 4-3, at least for a little while longer, maybe less than a year, because again, you have Progressive Justice Ann Walsh Bradley, who is going to be stepping down and retiring, not running for another term next April. And it will be the only instance that we know of right now where conservatives could win that seat and win back control of the court 5-4. If they don't do that next year, the next 3 seats that come up in these staggered terms are all held by conservatives. So conservatives have to defend those seats. They can't build on their majority. They can't take it. So their only chance to take back the court is next April, when it will be an open seat. Which is why, if you missed this back when Justice Bradley first announced her retirement, folks immediately they were tired. They got really tired, because we have to say again that just like in 2022 heading into 2023, we're going to get to the November election, and you will have a race for president. You'll have Tammy Baldwin running for a 3rd term. You'll have the new legislative lines. You'll have bruising campaigns in several congressional districts, and everybody will be tired. They need Madeline Kahn out of Blazing Saddles just to play the song, "I'm so tired." But you can't be tired, because just a few months later, in April, there will be a Supreme Court election as vital as the one in April of 2023, where Janet Protasewicz was elected and it flipped control of the court. So keep this Act 10 lawsuit in mind. Keep in mind the fact that with progressive control of the courts, voters are now choosing legislative candidates under fair maps for the first time in more than a decade. And consider the time between November and April not a time to be tired, but a time to recharge the batteries and then head right back into it, because that's how important the state is for the civic engagement of Wisconsin voters. All right, we will talk more in our homeroom segment about the school year from an Osseo Fairchild perspective. Coming up next, you're Up North.
Baby, over the sea, I remember the night when we walked.
All right, there's Lori, there's Jimmy, right? How are you guys? I can't hear you, though.
There, I just unmuted you. Can you
There
hear?
we go. Okay, good
Yeah.
deal. How are you?
Really good.
All right.
The sun is shining. It's great.
And Jimmy, it's Jimmy, right?
Yep.
And Zawacki?
Zawacki, yep.
Zwacki, okay. Lori Whelan.
Mhm.
Okay. Elementary principal and superintendent. Thank you so much for doing this on short notice. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we have this weekly segment on education, and we had one guest plan, and then we had a backup plan. And our next backup plan was Selena Heller. God bless her. So she calls last evening and says, some folks are coming in to talk. So it's great that you're coming in. It's just going to be a very general conversation about the school year as things are wrapping up, highs and lows from an Osseo Fairchild standpoint, state of education, parents' involvement, just all the many ways that, the year has been enjoyable. But I'll also ask you, what's been challenging this year? What kinds of things would be on your wish list? If you could wave the magic wand, would it be a truckload of supplies? Would it be, something else in some way, shape, or form? I'll ask you what a lot of your colleagues, do for the summer. Do some of them do summer school? Do they continue their own education? Does everybody get in a hammock, and not come out until they absolutely have to? So things like that. Are there any special events, any programs, anything of note that you want to make sure I don't forget to bring up in the conversation?
We'll probably be talking about that. Like, we run summer school all summer long.
Okay.
Which includes, regardless of attending summer school or not, free lunch for anyone 18 and under.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay.
We also built during COVID the Technical Education Learning Center. That is a educational learning center for all regional students. We open the doors and we partner with CVTC to offer Welding Academy, Construction Academy, Nursing Academy.
Wow. Okay.
Come down and check it out.
Yes, exactly. Oh no, that's great. Okay, let's see where are we at here. We are about 2 minutes left in this break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick you back in the waiting room for a bit so that you can make noise and I can go fill my coffee cup, and I'll be back to come retrieve you in just a couple minutes.
Sure.
All right. Be right back. Before we get going with today's homeroom segment, let me take care of some business on behalf of all the nice folks that I work with at Courier Newsroom, parent company of Up North News, and also Civic Media, which distributes Up North News Radio every weekday morning from 6 to 8 o'clock. So for the Civic Media folks, you can ask your smart speaker to play your favorite Civic Media station just by saying play and the call letters. So you could say, play WRJN, or you could say play Bull Falls Radio, and you get that station out of Wausau. But also, if you're looking to refresh your wardrobe and support Civic Media, you can check out some of the new merch, the Civic Media store, by heading to Civic Media's homepage, civicmedia.us, and hit the store button in the upper right corner. Meanwhile, for those fine folks at Courier Newsroom, parent company of Up North News Radio, there are some great informative newsletters that you can sign up for. From our regular Friday guest, Kia Vakil, there's From the Front Lines, a bi-weekly rundown of political stories from some of the key battleground states. And from Mark Jacob, we have Stop the Presses, which talks about the ways that political extremism can exploit weaknesses in American journalism and what to do about it. Just head over to couriernewsroom.com in both of those cases. All right, let's get rolling on Homeroom for this week as we start to get toward the end of the school year here. And normally, if you've been summoned to the principal's office, it means you're in trouble. And I have a feeling that if principals are summoned to the superintendent's office, that they're in trouble. But I don't really feel like either one of these guests are going to cause us trouble today. Jim Zwacky and Lori Wheeland. Jimmy is the elementary school principal in Osseo Fairchild. Lori Wheeland is the Osseo Fairchild superintendent. Lori and Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us, Pat.
No, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We've spent a lot of the first part of the calendar year on this homeroom segment talking about, policy, political issues, budget issues, the legislature being in session. And it's been really nice now with the session being done to take some time occasionally and just talk to folks who are actually, in the trenches, in the classrooms, driving the buses, serving the lunches and things like that. And so it's nice that you were able to visit with us and just kind of give us a feel for one particular school district, in this case, Osseo Fairchild, south of Eau Claire, for folks who aren't familiar with the area. And so, Lori, I'll start with you as superintendent. As you look back at 2023, 2024, a couple of years now removed from the worst of the pandemic. How are you going to look back at this year? What kinds of highlights will you remember from these past 9 months or so?
Well, we just celebrated graduation a week ago, and seeing those are our products, I guess, of our education, and seeing the children go from kindergarten all the way through is a great success story. We've done a lot of great things this year. We opened a year ago our Technical Education Learning Center, a couple years ago now, and it has grown. We have students from around the region that come to the Osseo Fairchild Technical Education Learning Center and participate in academies of welding, construction, and Academy of Nursing. We partner with Mayo and CVTC to offer these unique programs.
Now, these things, again, they're with CVTC. We're not talking a child labor type violation, Jimmy, right? As the elementary school principal, you're not sending them in to operate drill presses or anything like that, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, then, from an elementary school standpoint, what were some of your highlights of the school year?
You mentioned coming out of COVID, and I feel like we're truly in like the pre-COVID times where we've back to the programs and having the families back into the schools and family nights. And we've had a lot of fundraisers, field trips. We had a program with our reading series. And so within that, we're learning a lot more knowledge-based stuff. And with that, as some guest speakers are coming in, we're making trips to those locations to learn more, get more hands-on. And so it's truly fun and giving some students some experiences that they wouldn't or haven't generally had in a long time. So it's been fun to see those things happening.
I would say the focus is back on education. You've also implemented Project Lead the Way, hands-on science learning, engineering, robotics club.
Yeah, and we're doing a lot of after-school stuff again and just getting kids more involved again and interacting with each other.
Let's talk about the after-school and the summer school aspects as well, because they're, schools really can be, are a community hub, can be even more so in so many ways, after hours, during the summer, things like that. So talk to me a bit about summer school. And I think we may talk about that over, a couple of different weeks here leading into summer, because, I'm of that rapidly approaching elderly generation that remembers summer school as a punishment until I got to high school and learned that it was anything but, that there were some tremendous opportunities there. So can you talk to me from both standpoints, summer school as both, an opportunity to learn more, but also as some remedial catch-up opportunities?
Yeah, we provide both. And actually, Miss Rossman and this year Mrs. Ryan are kind of taking over the summer school coordinator duties. But then we have Mrs. B and Mrs. Fisher who coordinate a lot of field trips. So we do 6 weeks of summer school, which is some remedial, but a lot more hands-on and fun. This year's theme is the Olympics based. So there will be a lot of hands-on. And so it's a fun place for the kids. We get a huge turnout throughout the course of the year. Also, due to some grant stuff, we also provide lunch to anyone in the district that's 18 or under. So regardless of summer school or not, they are able to come in and have lunch, breakfast and lunch every single day. But then the summer school, we have field trips. We start actually Friday, we go to Minnesota, the Children's Theater there, and it would be the first day of summer. And then after that, we have a couple of 3-day trips where Mrs. B and Miss Fisher take a group of 4th and 5th and 6th grade students to different parts of Wisconsin, and they get to experience things that generally they wouldn't. And so getting those back to rolling last summer was amazing for the students. But then just in general, we provide swimming lessons. So we bus them to the Osseo swimming pool this summer where they get swimming lessons for free. And so throughout that, it provides a little over 90 students get that. And then there's just a bunch of different activities throughout the course of the summer.
So
yeah, and
go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, we offer summer school all day long. It is not just a morning or afternoon program because we have a shortage of daycare. And this really helps the families in our community. We have a high turnout rate. A huge percentage of our elementary students participate. We are also offering summer school for middle school, high school, and our high school kids actually get credit for taking summer school classes. So they get a head start in their academics.
I try, as you know, rarely in segments like this to have to go off on any kind of a politically tinged tangent, but you're going to have to excuse me for just a moment because you mentioned the free swimming lessons, you mentioned the free school lunches during the summertime, and it's where I just want to talk directly to certain local certain elected officials, especially at the state level, who might be listening, to say school lunch debt shouldn't be a thing. Shouldn't be a thing. School lunch debt shouldn't be a thing. Let's feed the kids, shall we? Okay, let's continue on now. The opportunities that are out there, and can you talk a bit more about the partnership with CVTC, Chippewa Valley Technical College, on the Tech Education Learning Center, and the opportunities there? Because again, I feel like we've made such a nice transition in accommodating and encouraging people on either side of the equation to pursue the liberal arts through a college education or, skilled trades, more so than, again, when I was younger. So what are the opportunities like for folks that are looking to embrace something more in, the technical skilled trade side?
We worked really hard with our local industry in the Chippewa Valley region, meeting with employers in the Osseo, Fairchild region, south of Osseo, north in Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls area, finding out what they need from their employees, and partnering with CVTC helped us remove the barrier. We have a lot of students in rural Wisconsin that don't get to participate in earning higher level credits. And so by partnering with CVTC, providing this Technical Education Learning Center, we have instructors that come to the students. Same with students that are attending the Academy of Nursing. We sat down with Mayo and they were great, embraced the idea about providing space. And we have an instructor of nursing that comes down right at the Mayo site here in Osseo. Again, we want to give our students in rural Wisconsin opportunities that students in larger urban areas have. We want to keep our economy strong here in Chippewa Valley, and we want to retain our talent here. And so by removing barriers, giving them this advantage, we're going to keep rural Wisconsin strong.
Which I would add also gets to the point of, for folks that choose instead the direction of higher education at a college or university. The whole point of all of these conversations the past 3 years or so about student loan debt relief is, again, opening up pathways, opening up opportunities to wherever people want to chase their dreams after graduation day. Jimmy, as we've talked about the highlights of the past school year, as you look ahead toward the next one, if there were a wish list or a to-do list, for public educators there and, writ large in Wisconsin, what are nobody, we're not whining here. This is not the complaint box. But if you could have the magic wand, what would be on your wish list for the next school year that might be a little different than what you had this school year?
I think it starts with the appropriate budget. Our staff does an amazing job of providing resources for the students with what they have. But that includes, thankfully we passed a referendum this spring, which is a huge deal, and a huge shout out to our community as a whole. But we rely a lot on our community support system, from businesses to families. We had to do a lot of fundraising. We did a readathon. We did our Thunder Parents, which is our PTO, did a fundraiser, which brought in quite a bit of money for our teachers to be able to buy more supplies. We try to provide supplies, school supplies for all of our students, and we can't do that without the family support. So if we could take that magic wand and get a budget-friendly resource, then we would be able to provide all of those without having to ask the families for some of those or businesses for those. And time in general, our teachers are taking on a lot, and just adopted a new reading program last year. We're looking at math this year because we want to be ahead of the game and provide our students with what they deserve. And so with that comes a lot of professional development and resources. And so trying to have everything available for that. Project Lead the Way, Ms. Whelan had mentioned already, getting more supplies for that. We started a robotics club, and so we're trying to be competitive in that. And so with that comes more resources needed, and just having the ability for some other things. We've relied a lot on grants. We really received a security grant this past spring, and so we're looking at adding fencing and some of those things. And with that comes some playground upgrades and stuff like that.
Lori, from when Jimmy mentioned professional development, it leads to this question. What educators do over the summer? Now, some are teaching summer school, obviously, as we just found out there. But there is professional development that the teachers themselves are going back to school. And yet I wouldn't begrudge anybody because, for people who are teachers, you want to put your butt in a hammock all summer? I'm good with that. I really am. But do you get a pretty fair mix of people who kind of, relax over the summer versus those who are, engaged in some kind of professional development or other activities?
I would say very few teachers get to enjoy a hammock. They are doing professional development, but besides that, they are supplementing their income. Many of our teachers in our district work all summer long. Either they're teaching summer school or they find a second job.
The other thing, when you talk professional development, with the math piece on Friday is our first day of summer, and that we'll be spending that in the tech center learning the new math program, which will then provide the teachers and other staff the opportunity to prepare for the fall. We also have, you've mentioned a little bit with Act 20, so a new reading regulations that we have to put in place. And with that comes a lot more professional development. And so we have to help do that throughout the summer and make sure that we're prepared for that as well.
I guess one thing that you said for a wish list, I would say no new mandates that are unfunded.
There you go. I like that. One other thing I would add, if I could, I know teachers have a prep hour and they actually, work through that prep hour. If we could give them one more hour, and if since they don't get it in the summer, I would just go from classroom to classroom with like a portable hammock and just let them rest for an hour. If we could arrange that, I think everybody would be happier. The kids, the parents, and everybody. And by the way, the hammock goes for principals and superintendents too. You guys have earned every bit of it, and I really appreciate you being here, telling us what all is going on in the Osseo Fairchild School District and hometown districts all over the state. It's so great. Jimmy Zawacki and Lori Whelan, to see you both. Thanks. Have a great summer.
Thanks for having us, Pat. Have a great summer.
And I just want to tell all the teachers out there, thank you for making a difference. Support staff. Every day they make a difference for our students and
try to enjoy your summer.
Yeah.
Yes, I sure hope they do. Thank you again. Todd Allbaugh of the conveniently named Todd Allbaugh Show is coming up next. You're up north.
Did you see Todd's request?
No, where should I have seen that?
He asked for the link. I can send it to him right now.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. There we go.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh no.
What's up?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. All right.
I'm your private dancer, a dancer for money. Do what you want me to do.
Oh,
I'm your private dancer.
couldn't have done better.
The
The album, Tina Turner's comeback album, this day in 1984, and Todd Allbaugh is here as well. Just coincidentally, Todd, I'm looking at the email that I send out at the start of every week, with the link to join the show, and it always goes to the same assorted cast of characters. So that link for the show to join us goes to Brittany Merlot, it goes to Chad Holmes, Melissa Kay, Hans Breitenmoser, Kristen Lyerly, Jim Santel, Luke Mathers, Mark Jacob, Dan Shoup. There's no Todd Allbaugh on this list, and I don't know how that happened, and I apologize.
All those people you listed are both remarkably smarter and more talented than me, so it figures I wouldn't find.
Oh, that's not how that's not how I determined this at all. I mean,
but I will say this though. I will say this, that you sent that email out, and Todd sent me the message for the link 2 minutes ago, which means he never opened the email until 3 minutes ago.
Where he didn't see that there was no email from me. Yes.
Usually Pat has it like the week before, and I just do a search. I just put, Up North News or Pat Kreitlow StreamYard, and it pops up when I click on it. And I did that this morning. I'm like, well, either I deleted it or whatever. But
you've been thanked for your service, and conveniently and quietly.
That's more like it. Thank you, Todd. We'll no longer need you at Up North News.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way at all. How was your holiday weekend?
It was all right. Thanks. Hung out in Richland Center a little bit, and then worked a little bit around the apartment and worked on the show. So tried to take it a little easy, but one of those weekends. I watched. You guys watched the on Sunday the National Memorial Day concert on public television, which is always spectacular and very, very meaningful. And every year I think I think I'll be okay in this one. And of course, Bryan Cranston was one of the guest portrayers or actors of these fantastically powerful veteran stories. And about halfway through, the tears started coming. And it's just very, very powerful. You have a World War II veteran that's there, and Bryan Cranston's telling his story in front of him, and the heroics and the people that they lost, the friends he lost, and he came through it. It makes you remember what the day is all about.
And Greg was just in DC seeing all these amazing monuments to the men and women who made this country what it is, who founded it, who sacrificed for it.
And as we were leaving yesterday to get on to walk into the airport at DCA, they were welcoming from Madison a Stars and Stripes honor flight. So I saw a bunch of vets walking through, and the woman just being like welcome here, just go this way, the bus is ready. And I just walked up, I'm like, is this an honor flight? She goes, yep. And I got goosebumps because we just talked to Karen from Stars and Stripes in Milwaukee, and the interview with her that Jay and I had became emotional. We all started to tear up.
Oh, I absolutely understand. And now we are just days away from the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And that's what does it to me every time. And for me, I think it actually started in college. There was an old black and white movie called The Longest Day. I know I think they tried, I don't remember if they did a remake or not, but what was it, 1963, something like that. And of course, Saving Private Ryan is again, equally, so we say, descriptive of what that day was like on the beaches of Normandy. And that these are regular folks. These are regular American kids, who would look at life today and first off be in many ways proud of what they fought and sacrificed for their families, for all those who came after them. But in other ways would look at what we've got now and go, are you seriously this close to taking for granted what I did for you on that beach at Normandy? And I don't people say, well, don't meld the military with the political. It's like, well, I think that it's very important that people realize the principles, and we just talked an hour ago about this being the anniversary of the fall of the Roman Empire after 2,000 years. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that the United States is going to be around for 2,000 years unless you work at it.
Well, I think it's very telling too that I'm not sure you guys saw it. I think it was over the weekend. The great documentarian Ken Burns, who of course has done so much great work, and particularly public television, but his documentaries, whether it's the Civil War or several others, have been put on DVD. You can stream them. Ken Burns, to your point, Pat, has been someone who's never really been particularly partisan. But he gave a graduation speech this weekend, and he started talking about democracy, and he said that leads me, I'm paraphrasing, but basically that leads me to a point I did not want to have to go to. And he went there, and he said we have to realize that how close we are to losing democracy, and we cannot sit on this sideline in 2024. There are two choices, and it's very clear. And it was tantamount to an endorsement of Joe Biden. Coming from Ken Burns, I thought that was particularly powerful. Someone who, to my knowledge, has never strayed into partisan politics. But it shows you the seriousness of people who know history.
Correct. People who have worked so hard to be neutral. Find that they could be neutral no longer. And I don't fault them, because I did the same thing in 2004, 2005, where I said I can no longer sit here and look at the camera night after night and pretend, that things are one way when, I see them differently. And if that's how, he and others see things, especially somebody, a filmmaker like that, or as Tony mentions on Facebook, it was the Audie Murphy World War II movies that, started for him. And I looked up The Longest Day here, 1962, Robert Mitchum, Henry Fonda, John Wayne, Sean Connery, Richard Burton, Paul Anka, many more. Again, just an incredible movie that I would urge people to watch to get a feel again for the sacrifices that were made. And the ones that I'm so glad you talked about with the concert and Greg's trip to be thankful for.
Yeah, I mean, it puts a little rain or other things in your life into perspective, really.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about the sacrifices all these folks have made throughout the years, we could all get through whatever things we're facing. It ain't D-Day, and it's not World War II, it's not Vietnam, it's not Korea. And while other politicians may say certain things are their Vietnam or whatnot, it's just not true. And it's the men and women who have fought, and particularly our Gold Star families who gave all, and their families who had to carry on. And it's people who never got to have a dad or a mom or a brother or a sister or a spouse. It's those people who continue to sacrifice for all of us.
Mm-hmm. And again, so greatly appreciated. Anything in particular we should be listening for on the Todd Allbaugh Show today?
Well, this wonderful broadcaster, Pat Kreitlow, will join us
Never heard of
top of the hour today, along with Trivia Olson. So it should be a good time had by all.
Okay, well, there you go. You've set the bar really high. A good time to be had by all. It's a lot to live up for, but I'll
you can do it. You can do it.
Thank you, Mr. Allbaugh.
Broadway song.
Greg Bach will be on
Would you
with
just
Matt
follow
Nair
me around
on
and just
air.
sing?
It's
Thank you.
gypsy all the time.
Broadway hype man, Todd Allbaugh. Love it. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful day. Tomorrow we have our Women Win Wisconsin segment powered by Motherhood for Good. Look for that and Joe Zepecki tomorrow. Up North News is the Wisconsin digital outlet for Courier, a pro-democracy news network building a more informed, engaged, and representative America. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Thanks for joining us up north on this Wednesday morning. See you tomorrow.